Huh.
Yeah.
In the hotel lobby. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Are we live or are we recording?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Are we live or are we recording? I saw that little.
Recording right now. We are recording. We are not live.
No, I mean we can get. Listen, I say whatever. I say the same thing no matter what. So
Well, it's funny. The first time I used this, I was like, "Wait, it says live. Why does it say live? Why can't it say record? Why is it?"
Yeah.
Okay. They have their thing.
Okay.
Oh, Ebony, I knew you were going to be the perfect person to be on this show. I knew it.
So much fun. I love it.
As I was sitting down thinking of guests, I was like, Ebony.
And thank you for your honesty with the way you approached that last little bit there. Like that there has to be an establishment of trust for that to really happen. Like that, I was just sitting there going, oh, like, I don't know if white guys watch our show. I have a feeling we're not very high in this demographic. But that little moment right there, that was a golden, like, yeah, okay. So even when you do get it, please don't expect me to trust you yet. Like it's going to take some time.
So. You got to do your work. Like the shadow work is real. And I can guess what's lurking in the shadows of the conscious of whiteness. But I got my own problems. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, it's not your work to do. You don't need to.
Like, I don't know. You should, but like I said, I have seen it done. But it's certainly not enough of it yet. Right. So
true.
Yeah. There's that constant sense of like, is it ever going to happen? Is it ever going to happen?
I'm taking this this history class this semester called Black Lives Matter, but the theme is basically that Black lives have always mattered, and so it's a historical, trek into the construction of race and anti-Blackness. And I'm one of the only Black people, and myself and the professor are two of the only Black people in the class. I think there's one other undergrad. And people are pissed about the class because as we get into the syllabus, they're like, wait a minute, we thought this was going to be about the movement and justice for Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And they didn't, even the kids and the students in the class can't.
No, this is where we do the fucking work.
Yeah, they're like bent out of shape about it, big mad. And I'm just like, wow, the fragility is crazy, but
So we keep constantly talking about that. It's like, well, it's great. It's great to see all this activism. And, oh, look at people protest. Okay, now what?
Right.
Like, you realize you're actually going to have to do more stuff than, like, carry a sign or bitch on social media or, or take a class thinking you're only talking about Breonna Taylor. You realize. Oh, I'm sorry, Tori. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just, if you remember, I was never a huge fan, even from the beginning. I mean, I understand. And here in the Chicagoland area, I went and supported for sure. But it's always in the work, and a lot of it, when we think about it from, even when we talk about systems and systems of oppression, I mean, I think Royce has said this, right? You can't use the tools of the oppressor to.
No, I didn't say that.
Or you quoted it on the show. You quoted it on the show, right?
That's
right. So you quoted it on the show because I remember us having a dialogue on the show.
It's Audre Lorde, the master's tools.
I got you.
Never does bad.
I got you. I understand. That's me. That's my mistake because I remember you said it on the show, and then I attributed it to you as a quote. But I just think I think the work is going to come like internally. I don't think it's going to be a structural type of thing. And when I say internal, I mean the human, right? But I also mean like within our community as Native Black Americans or American descendants of slave, because there's a lot that we deal with. And I wanted to get into this, or I wish I could get into it in the show, like the relationship that we have with each other, regardless of where it comes from, because we know that it's very complex and comprehensive as to where it comes from, that we have to deal with and we have to be able to talk about amongst each other. So that's the kind of work that I would like to see more of from our standpoint. And then you're right. And then, for our advocates, or what did somebody say to me? are accomplices, right? You said you don't want to advocate, you want to accomplice.
Accomplices.
The accomplices.
I mean, because
conspirators. Yeah, because if you think about it, right? I mean,
you're up to some shit.
The co-defendant.
exactly. And I was like, you know what? That's a great way to say it. I think I might have to use that. And the work starts there as well. And you're right. It's not our responsibility to teach, but it is a responsibility for us to want to grow as well. So I never get too caught up on outside in as opposed to like, where can I start where I am? And that's a conversation that I've tried to have with a lot of my counterparts is Black men. And it becomes a very interesting conversation. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like one of my goals that's on my to do, how to take over the world list of planning is to have
everybody else. Okay, somebody else has one. Yay.
Yeah, totally. They're all over the place. It's just sticky notes and index cards and vision boards and shit. It's everywhere. But one of those has to do with like really how do we this idea of mending fences and healing the interrelational dynamic between Black men and women, and looking for the points for healing ourselves, right? So like I agree that first it starts with one, and then it's the one and the one. And so it's like the I and I got to get together and be able to really get on the same page about things, because there's so much intracultural, internal animosity and harm that is caused. And it can be really difficult to have conversations across genders, and with any group of people, right? Like, just because I'm a very femme Black woman, right? I'm very much in that identity, but I have friends who are not as femme or who are more non-binary in their disposition, which makes their view of the world and their relationship with their male counterparts completely different. Or maybe they have internalized masculinity that hits me kind of different. And I'm like, oh, this conversation just went way left, because, we're all functioning in these binaries. So it's difficult work, but I think it's juicy work. It's like necessary. Like, let's see what is under there. And my question is like, how do we create those kinds of containers for those conversations to just happen? Right. Well, as opposed to like forcing it. Because sometimes if it happens at, in a backyard at a barbecue, anything could go, like if there's no parameters, if there's no like agreements and mutual understandings, or like, I don't know, how do we make that a realistic thing to be able to do more of that kind of building? I wonder.
Well, I think you're right. It starts with us, one. And then I think too, there has to be a level, it does need to be organic in some way, shape, or form, but it should also be intentional, right? Like right now, we a lot of us in the Black community feel, okay, now we've always had a voice. Now more people are listening, we hope, right? And now we want to move forward with what like other people should do. But I still believe that if we turn that on not on ourselves, but if we are just as critical of ourselves and say, hey, listen, you know what, as I've evolved as a 44-year-old African-American man, there are certain things that I have learned in my spiritual journey that I've been on for the past 15 years. And, some of the things that I've been able to experience, that I'm not the same person, and I'm showing up different. I'm holding different space. People are experiencing me differently. And that's where, because sometimes in our community we start to clown people like that. Oh, what's wrong with you doing this, and you're not a this no more, and you're talking about chakras and I've gotten that, and I'm a yogi. I'm certified in Kemetic yoga, where I went to Africa to learn it, and I'm also certified in Vinyasa in India. So trying to look at it very holistically. But when I talk to my counterparts about doing that, and not just doing it in an American way, but actually going to have an indigenous experience, they clown me, So we got to start there too.
I get it. I mean, I'm gonna just say, Torian, welcome to unicorn life. I mean,
I don't know about unicorn. Unicorn life.
I'm gonna just hashtag unicorn life.
Hey man, listen, I don't know anything about that.
Hold on, brother. Now wait a minute. Awareness and accountability, right?
Yeah.
So the transformation that you've experienced in walking on this journey for the past 15 years was one that I imagine cost you dearly, parts of your prior self. Is that okay? So, and I'm saying that because that's what it continues to cost me, right? And so every day I choose to stay on the path, right? Every day is a choice to stay on the path and stay as authentically rooted in my divine self as possible. But what it's teaching me is that it's also my desire and my purpose to share the gift of that transformation and that journey with the people I love, right? And I have love for my community. And I also have to understand that everybody ain't able, right? So there will be homies that will clown you and be like, but I would put money on the fact that there is a deep underlying level of admiration, and like they need you to exist in the world because your existence creates a murmuration that reverberates out. Your vibration takes up space in a way that like nobody else is doing. So as you are holding space differently, my shaman told me this because I was in ego and was like, oh, I'm holding space. Like I'm holding space for the collective right now. And he was like, and you're being held by it as well. So just as you are holding space, you are also being held by space. So it's bigger than you. And you can kind of like lean back into what's being held and what's been prepared for you as a gift and a reward for your journey and all that you've come to. And then eventually you will meet the people who do not laugh at you or who do not clown you and joke with you. And those are the people that you build with. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
There's still influence in the knuckleheads though.
No, and I'm cool with the laughter. I mean, it's okay, right? I mean, I'm not really tripping on that part. I guess I agree with you 100%, but I also think about a collective impact in the community that we're talking about, right? Because we scale the conversation from very general and broad to Black male relationship, which is huge and super dynamic, to my anecdotal experience. My question is how do you see exponential expansion where you have the positive parts of maybe my experience that actually affect not only millions of people right now, but hundreds of millions and billions into the future? That's the question that I have.
Well,
if we were, I think we still need to continue. Yeah.
I still think it comes back to the one, right? And so for me, I think that the thing that I have decided for myself is that it's my job to Robin Hood the wellness industry away from the whiteness that has made it inaccessible to Black and brown folks, especially these modalities that I find specifically useful to Black women in our healing, right? And if these healing modalities and plant medicines are being identified as like God, right? Then we have to reconnect that back to its source, right? So that's my ministry. That's the purpose. So everything that I do is to bring me closer to that experience and to be able to share that gift with folks who are willing participants. And my hope is that it will create a murmuration that will eventually impact billions and make a change. But I also can't be connected to that responsibility. I can only be intentional and purposeful as I like make the offerings. So each offering has to be, mindful, right? And I'm planting these seeds and tending them in these ways in hopes that when I'm gone from here, there will still be some kind of impact left. And I know that I can't do that in one day or 1 year I have to literally take care of myself so that I can live as long as possible so that I can have the greatest impact and keep learning and keep growing, right? So that's kind of the way for me to like not feel this crushing pressure of like, am I supposed to have the answer for like liberating billions of people? Because I don't. But I do think that I can. I think I have felt energy that suggests that I have something to offer that is greater than myself.
Ayanna was proof of that. I feel like if you do you, there are going to be people that see that and they see you as that, oh man, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. I think we just need more of that in the community. You get more of that. You have more people encouraging that, that's what's going to happen. It will build from there. So you are right. I think it does start with the one, and it just, it will become a collective.
So let me ask you this. So how would this apply to racism? Do we think we should have, or we do have the same outlook with that?
Yeah, so it's similar, and it's crazy because that's a hard. So I was bitter boots about diversity, equity. I was a diversity director at a private white institution, and I mean, they just ran my whole spirit through a meat grinder. It was awful. In trying to figure out how to negotiate safe conversations for white people about racial equity in a predominantly white institution. Like it was like destined for failure from the outset, right? So that kind of it set me back and made me be like, I don't want to do this at all. But then I said, there are ways that I can do this and have agency over how I do this work. Yeah. And so that's when I started working for myself and doing consulting and working for organizations that, after an intake, I asked the hard questions about just where they are in their work and where they would like to see themselves, and where I feel like I get to show up as my full and authentic self to do the work. And if they don't want that, or they feel like maybe I'm too much, or they need to regulate me, then my solution is, well, you don't want Ebony, you want somebody else to do this. So you should hire another consultant, because there's no shortage of them out there. Everybody is trying to get money off, teaching people how to be less racist, which is foolish. But so now what I realize, though, what I do want to do is figure out how to direct these tools into the hands of the Black and brown and minoritized people inside these organizations who need support structures and who need a safe space to have advocacy, or to find a place to vent, or to get the tools that they need to figure out how exactly the system is manipulating them out of their piece, right? And so that's why professional development and race equity work is what I want to do. So that's my approach to be able to give this, self-directed self-awareness, self-empowerment to people who still got to go earn a living and who are still capable and, highly intelligent, executives and CEOs. You have directors of nonprofits who are being crippled by imposter syndrome and can't manage to tell their, bookkeeper that you can't keep coming in late. You know what I mean? Because they're so scared the board is going to fire them because they're Black. Like those are real scenarios of people that I actually coach with, So, so that's my approach on how to be able to slide this healing and awareness work into this racial equity piece, to look at ways that we can plant some bombs that might aid in dismantling these systems from the inside out.
Yeah.
Wow, I did it. I wanted this to go at least 15 minutes and we're at 18.
I didn't even know that was gonna go. I was like, I gotta go do a radio program, not radio show for KUNM tomorrow. So I was about to.
Just keep in mind, Ebony, when I told you'd be a guest like that, it will continue.
Okay,
I will be contacting you.
I would love to come back and talk to you guys. This is super dope. When you first told me about it and I looked at the shows, I was like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. But then y'all didn't need me no more. So
no, that's not true.
There was one particular show I wanted to have her on, but like it got filled before I was like, okay. But I already knew. I was like, I'm gonna find a topic that she's gonna, and then this came up and I was like, Ebony.
This is perfect. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I got to get ready for a call in 15 minutes.
Oh shit!
Well, I was like, thank you all, because
the work don't stop, y'all. It's Monday night. Everybody stop working soon. Hopefully, it's 9 o'clock. All right,
I'm gonna go eat something. Okay,
that ain't life.